If you've ever felt like your business is making money, but you still don't feel financially stable, you're not alone. Maybe revenue is coming in, maybe clients are being served, maybe even on the outside, your business looks like it's doing well. But behind the scenes, you're still wondering, why does cash feel inconsistent? Why am I still paying myself last? Why does every slow month feel like a crisis? And why am I making more money than I used to, but I'm still not feeling financially secure? Let's talk about why making more money can still feel so frustrating when your business doesn't have the structure to actually produce stability. This is for the Christian entrepreneur who feels tired producing sales, content, and client results, but still not seeing the financial fruit that she's expecting from the business. If you're struggling with inconsistent cash flow, low owner's pay, and wondering why more revenue hasn't fixed it yet, stick with me, because as quiet as kept, that might not be a revenue issue. It might be a structure and alignment issue. So stay tuned. Hello, if you're new here, my name is Iyanna Vaughn. I help Christian entrepreneurs ditch excessive income dips, fix cash flow, increase profit margins, and pay themselves consistently. So a lot of Christian entrepreneurs are producing. They have their activity going, they have content, they have sales activities, they have client results. However, their business is not creating the financial fruit that they desire. And lean in when I say this, okay? Fruitfulness is not the same as busyness. You understand what it feels like to have money coming in, but still not feel like you can breathe. You've had seasons with revenue, but not enough order, profit margin, and cash stability. And you know the issue is not your gifting, your calling, or your assignment that God has placed on you. Nor is it about hard work, because I know that you are working hard. The issue is maturing in stewardship. Many Christian entrepreneurs are praying for peace while avoiding the structure that will give them said peace. Sometimes the breakthrough is not more money. Sometimes the breakthrough is telling the truth about what your business is producing and what it's not producing. So right now I'm going to share some biblical truths. So get your Bibles out, get your notes out, lean in, and we're going to get started. So the foundation in the Bible about fruitfulness and stewardship. So in Genesis 1:28, I'm looking at my notes here, and the NIV version, God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, and over every living creature that moves on the ground." Right? We can't have verse 28 without going back to Genesis 1 verses 1. So in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And when the first version of create was the Hebrew word bara. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing that word wrong, but bara is Hebrew for creating something out of nothing. God is the only person, God is the only source that can create something from nothing, okay? And then later throughout Genesis, when God created, right, the same word, but a different Hebrew word is called asa, which means to make through assembling of existing materials. So please stick with me here. Please stick with me. So by verse 9 through 11 on day 3, God said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered onto one place and let dry ground appear." And it was so. Verse 10, God called the dry ground land and gathered waters he called seas. And God said that it was good. Verse 11, then God said, "Let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it, according to their various kinds." And it was so. Now, God, in this point on day 3, created an operating system that was able to be automated and replicated, right? Before creating humans, where we were the managers and the keepers of the creation on earth, right? So that was his kingdom business, which is earth, right? And he automated before he delegated. Now, we won't get into delegation or all of those things in this episode, but I just wanted to kind of frame verse 28 to like where it began. And now again, I'll read verse 28 again. So in verse 28, God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number. When I say them, of course, he made Adam and Eve. So he said to man, to humans, to be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground. So God gave us rule, reign, and dominion over the earth as long as we give him rule, reign, and dominion over our lives, right? Because then he's able to bless us with our assignment, and our assignment might and partially be our businesses. So if we follow his footsteps of creating systems that can be automated and repeat itself and delegate in our businesses to serve others well, we'll receive the promise of that fruitfulness, right? And again, we're not going deeply into delegation, but the fruitfulness is not about just having more. It's about producing, multiplying, managing, cultivating, and bringing order to your business. So there is a connection to fruitfulness in Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. But before we get to verse 33, let's kind of frame what chapter 6 of Matthew talks about. So in chapter 6 of Matthew, Jesus teaches us how to give. He teaches us how to pray, how to fast, what we should value in our lives, and how we shouldn't be double-minded by serving two masters. And then finally, how to not worry about anything. And when we do those things, right, in verse 33, it seals what he taught. And that was, but seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. So kingdom in Hebrew in the Old Testament, the word is mamlakah. Forgive me again if I'm saying that word incorrectly. And that is to reign, to have dominion, sovereignty, and realm. Realm of this earth. In the New Testament, where Jesus talks about God's kingdom, the kingdom of God, and that word is in the Greek is called Malesia. Again, forgive me if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. That means royal power, kingship, dominion, rule, not to be confused with the actual kingdom of earth, but rather right or authority to rule over a kingdom through God. And righteousness, which means a doctrine concerning the way in which man may attain a state approved of God, and then with integrity, virtue, purity of life, rightness, correctness of thinking, feeling, and acting. So we say with our mouths that we are seeking the kingdom first, but then we are also ignoring our numbers. When we seek the kingdom first under God's order, that means in our business, we must look at our pricing, our numbers, our profit, our cash flow, our owner's pay, our capacity, our decisions, how we serve, things of that nature. If the business is being built on kingdom fruit, it cannot be built on financial confusion. Many business owners are making money, but they're not leading their numbers financially. So I have a margin assessment, and it helps you understand where you are in your business financially based on the habits that you have. And what I've found based on those who took the margin assessment is that a lot of people are only looking at their numbers during tax season. A lot of people do not know their profit margins. A lot of people do not know what their business needs monthly. A lot of people are paying themselves what's left. People feel guilty, and that leads to feeling of guilt when nothing is left. And sometimes when we call things faith, it's just really avoidance. So if you're only looking at your numbers when you know there is a problem, You are not leading your business financially. You are reacting to it. So your business might not be fruitful because you're doing the wrong things. It may be underproducing because the financial structure has not yet caught up to your assignment. If you think the problem is always you need more revenue, then you'll always be chasing more revenue months. Bigger revenue with no structure only makes disorder louder. More sales without cash flow systems create stress. More clients without a profit plan creates more pressure. More revenue without owner's pay structure still leaves you underpaid. Fruitfulness requires order. Fruitfulness requires stewardship. Fruitfulness requires a system. Okay, now I want to share 4 ways to shift your numbers so then that way you can lead with order. So the first thing is let's stop measuring fruitfulness by revenue alone. Revenue only tells us what stayed in, not what went out of your business. Revenue alone doesn't tell us if the business can pay you, if you're pricing for profit, if the business is healthy, or if the business is stable. These are questions I need you to ask for yourself, right? What did the business actually produce? How much profit remained in my business? How much cash do we keep in the company? Was I even paid? And how much? Did this month create stability or just activity? Ask yourself these questions when you're going over your finances, or even just answer them now as you go along. You can press pause or come back, whatever the case. The next shift is to stop treating your numbers as punishment. Your numbers are not there to shame you. They are there to inform you. So the numbers reveal leaks in your company. The numbers reveal pricing issues, expenses that are too heavy, whether the business model supports your life, and where attention is needed. The numbers are wisdom and not just judgment. The third shift I need you to make is stop paying yourself last or what's left over. If your business always pays yourself last, your business has trained you to live off of what remains. A lot of times as Christian women, we can over spiritualize sacrifice, especially when it comes to our life and businesses. So stewardship does not require self-abandonment, and a business that is not paying the owner is not producing. So owner's pay should be built into your profit plan first, not last. So when you are paying yourself consistently, even when it's minimal at this time, as long as it's consistent, you're training yourself, okay, I'm paying myself first. I know I have a place in my business, and as I grow, this will grow. And a lot of times when it comes to profit planning, I flip the profit plan and I create it based off of the CEO's pay. What does your pay need to be based on your lifestyle, your needs, and things of that nature? And then we can create a business that will support that through your revenue, through your making sure that you have your expenses that are efficient and you maintain a profit margin. I ideally like profit margins to be at 50% before considering the CEO's pay. So then that way you can have more than enough to pay yourself, as well as maintain cash flow, pay taxes, debt, all those different things. But the profit plan really starts with your CEO pay. The fourth thing that I need you to do is check your numbers weekly, every single week. I don't want you to look at the numbers only when you're anxious, or again, maybe if you're anxious or avoidant, you won't look at it at all. But I don't want you to look at it once a year, maybe once a quarter. I need you to look at it weekly so that you know exactly what's coming in and what's going out of your business, along with what's coming in your personal finances is what is going out of your personal finances. When you do this weekly, you create a leadership rhythm. So weekly questions to ask yourself, you can write these notes as well, as what came in this week, what came out this week, what expenses are coming up the next week so that you know in advance what's going on. Of course, if you have things that are recurring, that should be a staple for you to know what's coming up the next week. And then what can I pay myself this week? Depending on how often you pay yourself, ideally paying yourself twice a month on specific dates in lump sums is great. But if you're not there yet, you can even pay yourself bi-weekly or weekly, whatever allows you to pay yourself consistently until you take more ownership or just you're able to command your cash flow to flow in a way that is sustainable for your life as well as your company, the duration of your company. Another question to ask yourself, and it could be something, whether it's weekly or monthly, is what needs to be adjusted before the end of this month, or what needs to be adjusted for, beginning of this next month, right? And let me tell you something, some of the peace that you're praying for will come from looking at these things monthly, weekly, and just consistently and having a pulse on what you need. And this is a revelation that I got. And when I think of bookkeeping, right, and keep in the Bible is protection, it's order, it's managing. And when you do your bookkeeping, you're able to manage, protect, bring order to your finances, and you're able to know in advance if something is going wrong, or you're able to look back and reflect, okay, based on this past quarter, these things have been working or not been working. So you're able to make those changes as needed. So we went through the four shifts that you need to do. The first shift I need you to do is stop measuring fruitfulness by revenue alone. The second thing is to stop looking at your numbers as punishment. The third shift is to stop paying yourself from leftovers. And the fourth and final shift is to start looking at your finances consistently. Look at them weekly, look at them monthly, look at them quarterly, create a finance date with yourself so that you're on top of what you need, right? So I want to tell you that you are not behind. You are probably currently under supported in your business based on the current structure that you're in. I encourage you to learn how to read your reports, your financial reports, your income statement. I know we talk a lot about that in the business owner space, but not only that, your balance sheet, what tells you what you own, what you owe, what's left over, your cash flow statement, which just gives you insight on how cash flowed in your business. I have many videos about these, and just kind of learn your numbers, be intimate with them, and then understand your profit margins. Like, are you pricing for margin? Are you pricing for profit? Is the current business structure that you have profitable to your company? Again, I like for your profit before your pay to be at 50% profit margin. So then that way you can pay yourself. Create an owner's pay rhythm. I encourage you to create that rhythm based on what you should be paying yourself from your company based on your current lifestyle. And, build better cash flow. And that just building better cash flow comes from just understanding the timing of when things are coming in, the timing when things are going out. And if your revenue just fluctuates tremendously on a given month, going backwards and saying, okay, what needs to happen sales wise, marketing wise to create some consistency in the company? How can you understand the slower seasons where you probably need to promote a particular product or a service offer that can just help kind of alleviate those slower seasons? Or how can you diversify your revenue if need be based on, so say if you have a service where your profit margins are a little bit thinner, what if you can create a new line item to diversify your revenue to create higher profit margins? Things like that come through educating yourself and leading your company and making the right decisions for your company. And then when you do that, you're able to create calmer cash flow, things that can be automated. And another thing is to stop chasing those super high months so that you can keep things only to just keep things afloat. So a little bit of accountability here. You cannot keep avoiding the financial side of your business and still expect your business to produce differently. As God has said, faith without works is dead, so faith alone cannot cancel out stewardship. A kingdom business is not just about purpose, generosity, and impact. It also requires order, wise stewardship, structure to produce measurable fruit. If you want to understand where your cash flow, your profit, and your owner's pay are misaligned, take the free margin assessment now. If this resonated with you, share with another Christian entrepreneur who is making money but wondering why her business doesn't feel financially stable yet. Bye for now.